The True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
If you'd like to skip the intro, please refer to the timestamp listed in the episode description. Thank you.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. Right now it is July 25th, but this episode will be coming out in August sometime, I think, because I will have just gotten back from vacation. So hopefully I had a lovely time, and hopefully a bunch of you signed up for Patreon so that you didn't miss us too much and you listened to all of our really great bonus episodes that we do every week as well, because there's a lot of really good topics that sometimes aren't long enough for like a full episode, even though we've been stretching them out still to like 45-50 minutes, which is another full episode basically. So hopefully you guys check that out. I mean, there's not a ton to chat about really, especially since this will come out later and we feel like this episode will be a little long.
There's quite a few updates today on past ones we've discussed as well, but yeah, maybe not as much chit-chat today.
Yeah, hopefully the updates are they should be still relevant, because it doesn't seem like anything else will happen with them anytime soon. But, I mean, for me, in terms of life, I'm just trying to get ready to go on vacation. I feel like the week before you go on vacation is always so stressful because on top of regular life, which is stressful, you're also like, okay, I'm not going to be home. I have to clean. I have to get the house together. I feel like a disgusting person for leaving my poor baby kitties alone for a week, so I need to give them extra attention and just trying to get everything together while also trying to do the podcast, Instagram, regular job, all that. Fun times.
Just more on top.
Yeah. And I said this in another episode, but I'm already dreading when I come back from vacation and going back to work and I haven't even left yet.
I know, there's nothing worse. Like, I just try not to think about it because you should at least enjoy, like, the last day is always hard because you're like, fire, I've got to go back to real life tomorrow.
Yeah, it sucks.
Try and not think about it. I know it's easier said than done.
Every year, like, the first night or two I'm there and I'm going to sleep and I'm laying in bed, I'm like, wow, it's so nice. I don't have to go back to work for so long. But then every day after that, you're like, oh my God, it's coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The only other thing, I want to ask people to rate on Spotify because our rating's gone down again. So maybe I was thinking to do that at the start. So yeah, I don't really have much going on. Same old, still in winter. The car is going well, just as a car update. It's now lasted longer than the first car ever did. It's had its first service. Like, you get here like a 1,500 kilometer complimentary service just to check it's all going well. It's great. I love it. It's fingers crossed it keeps going well. One thing I did want to mention is that if you are listening to the podcast and you enjoy it, if you could please jump on, especially Spotify, and give us a 5-star rating. It's really, really helpful. It kind of pushes us up in the algorithm. It helps other people to find us, and we really, really appreciate it. It's really quick. You just go to True Crime Society on Spotify, click, I think it's rate this show, and you just got to make sure the 5 stars are filled in. It's a weird rating system because people are like, I can only give you 4, but if the stars are already filled in, that means you've already rated us 5, so don't do anything else. But if you haven't rated us, just go and click the 5 stars. Takes literally 3 seconds, and we would really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, because, people are cranky these days, and when people are mad about the dumbest shit, they're always like the first ones to be like, 1 star or whatever, how many stars, 3 stars. So people usually who like things aren't always looking at that. And I try to be more aware of it too, especially now that I'm like in the podcast game of being like, okay, let me remember to rate the podcast I like. So even not just for us, like any podcast you listen to, it's just like such a quick thing to do on Spotify. You literally don't have to write anything. You just hit the stars, but it helps.
I feel like
if you haven't done that,
our main criticism by our listeners is that there's too much chat at the start. Yeah. So we've tried to do everything. We put timestamps in, we have the disclaimer at the start, but then still some people are like, you guys talk too much. So we get it. But, if you enjoy the chat and we try and please everyone, just help us out with by 5 stars.
And we do try to not keep it as long on these episodes. Like, if you're people who really like listening to us chat or are interested in us as human beings, we do talk more on Patreon, which we still put timestamps on just in case if you don't. So don't think it's going to be like bogged down with chat. But I don't know. We really do try to accommodate. But I get why it's annoying because there's also podcasts I listen to where there's chat, and when you're first like jumping into a podcast, it's hard to like get into it. But I don't know, you can fast forward. It's not that serious, or just suffer through, and eventually maybe you'll like what we have to say. So yeah, if you could do that, it's a big help to us, and we'd really appreciate it. Okay, updates. We're gonna talk about Wade Wilson first. Wade Wilson, we just did an episode on him recently. He's the one with the crazy face tattoos that has all the supporters that think he's hot, and he's up for the death penalty. So he was supposed to be sentenced for the murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz on July 23rd, but according to court documents, his lawyers have argued that doctors need more time to evaluate him. Court records say 2 additional mental health experts were not able to modify their schedule to testify at the penalty phase of the proceedings. Therefore, Wilson is expected to appear in court for a Spencer hearing on August 27th at 9 a.m., and the sentencing would be later that day at 2 p.m. So we won't hear anything else about that probably till August 27th.
Month. It's basically exactly a month, yeah. I do find it interesting because we spoke quickly last week too about his supporters and the petition that they have to try and save him from the death penalty. But that episode is probably one of our most popular ones of recent time, which I do find interesting. Like, is it because the supporters were listening? Did people listen more because he's like a, good-looking criminal? It's like he was a heinous murderer, but it's just interesting to me that people are really, really into it. And I feel like a lot of it is just based on his ridiculous tattoos and how he looks.
Yeah, and I do think it's like I said in the episode we recorded, or no, when we did the last update, it's like they create this fan fiction in their minds where I get it if you read fantasy books or like romance books, falling for like the bad guy or the villain, but those are books, those are fiction. And those people in those books usually aren't disgusting because you're like supposed to fall for the villain in those books. This is real life. This guy's disgusting. He said he ran over this woman until she looked like spaghetti and has had absolutely no remorse. He has a swastika tattooed on his face. So I don't know what is wrong with you gals, but like get a hobby.
I'm just looking at the support page now, and Wade has actually written them a message. So they're trying to raise money, I guess. So they're saying that basically his lawyer was shit and he needs a new lawyer and a new legal team. So Wade's written a message and it says, "Hi everyone, I know there's been some skepticism or whether or not the fundraising accounts are legitimate. The person who runs I'm not even going to name it because I don't think this page needs more publicity, but anyway, the person who runs the pages is a close friend of mine. I have given her my full permission to help spread the word as I can't access online websites. There has been a Fundly account created to raise money so that I can afford better litigation experts to give me a fighting chance at survival. I also want to thank each of you for the outpouring of love and support, as I know you have been signing the 2 petitions to save my life. I am beside myself with gratitude. Thank you, Wade Stephen
shut the
Wilson."
fuck up. There's nothing more annoying that he's just like loving this, smug.
So they've raised $1,327 through 6 people, which is actually quite, just doing my maths to see. So that's an average of $221 per person who've donated, which is wild. I'm assuming someone's probably donated $1,000 or something and the others are less, but that's crazy.
I've done way less horrible things. So how about these people just give me the money? Like, hello? Like, I'm a nice person for the most part. I could use the money. Why are we giving it to this guy? There's so many other things that you could donate money to that are actual good causes. And I know I said me as a joke, but there's so many things you could donate to that are actually good. Animals, saving pets, domestic violence, like charities, whatever they're called. Anything, literally anything else.
They do have a $30,000 goal, which I think they might struggle, but
dream big. Sorry, I'm being snarky, but it's fucking annoying. Next update, Karen Reed trial. So as we've talked about in the past, her trial ended in a mistrial. The jury didn't come to a verdict. So we thought that they would just leave it as is, because I really don't know why the prosecutors want a new trial, because I don't see them getting a guilty verdict. If anything, I think that they would get not guilty.
It just seems like not a very strong case, and then to be going
there's
again
so much
wild.
Reasonable doubt. Regardless of what anyone thinks, there is going to be a new trial, and it's been set for January. So she appeared in court on Monday, and A new jury trial was scheduled for January 27th, and it was her first appearance since a judge declared the mistrial this month. And they said they couldn't reach a verdict. So, I mean, that's basically what I already said, but that's it. There's not really any other information besides there's going to be a new trial in January, which we think is silly, but who are we?
It's just also like I don't particularly like Karen Reid, which might be a bit controversial. Like I feel like she's smug and she, you know, she like I don't find her particularly likable. But I also think as a person, imagine just having this going on and on and on for years. Like it's
in the money and the court and the time and everything. And I don't think they're going to get a guilty verdict. I wonder if anything, it's going to be a mistrial again.
Yeah. Like I know it's scheduled, but I do wonder if it will go ahead or if it will be pushed. I don't know. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So the other kind of update in an older case is regarding Chris Watts, which is now actually quite old. Like he murdered his whole family 2018. So we're nearly at, 5 years.
So he's desperate for relevancy.
Yeah. He murdered his wife, Shanann, who was pregnant with their son, Nico, at the time, and their 2 little girls, Bella and Celeste. Chris, thankfully, is in prison for the rest of his life. He will likely never get out. But he's made the media this week because several handwritten notes that he wrote have been released to the media. He has kind of been dealing with this other inmate called Dylan Tallman, and Dylan has now written a book. Like he is capitalizing apparently on Chris's notoriety as well. But in these notes, Chris refers to Nicole Kessinger, who's the woman he was having the affair with, and basically the reason why he apparently killed his whole family because he wanted to be with Nicole. He refers to her as a Jezebel. He basically, if you don't know what a Jezebel is, it's a biblical reference that is regarding a woman by her teaching, she misleads my servants into sexual immorality. So it's kind of like a Jezebel is a woman who leads a man on, leads him astray.
A temptress.
Yeah. So Chris told the inmate, I was having an affair with this girl and I ended up in love with 2 women at the same time. It's what led up to what happened. She is of evil spirits like Jezebel. So
because men cannot just take accountability.
Yeah. He's blaming these horrible murders on Nicole Kessinger. Like, don't get me wrong, she knew he was married. I'm not excusing that, but he was the one who carried out the murders. He decided to kill his whole entire family, but now he's blaming it on her. So there is one handwritten letter I've seen so far. I've transcribed it because his writing is annoying and hard to read. So I'll just read it out because it's interesting. And like now it's just about another man who's done the wrong thing, who's now found religion apparently.
I think he 100% knew this was going to
come out,
probably go public, and was hoping it would, and that's why he did it.
So it says, Dear Heavenly Father, I have backslidden. I am like a sheep gone astray from the flock and have fallen into the pit. The snare of the enemy has entrapped me. The words of a harlot has brought me low. This is all his words. This is exactly how he's written it. The words of a harlot has brought me low. Her flattering speech was like drops of honey that pierced my heart and soul. Little did I know all her guests were in the chamber of death, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. How did I not see it? How did I let this happen? The blessings you have bestowed upon me were right in front of me, and still I followed the perfume of a strange woman. The web of the enemy squeezes around my heart and is cocooning my soul to the point of suffocation. The enemy and his Jezebel mock and scourge me as they celebrate another capture. But oh, that man would praise the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. You, O Lord, did not leave me captive or condemned. You heard the prayer of the destitute and of the prisoner appointed to death. You opened my eyes, you made my ears ready to perceive, and you said, Come forth. The web of death loosened its grip, and I walked into the light of your presence. As I humbly kneeled before you, you said, Go and sin no more. Your faith has made you whole. In Jesus' precious name, amen. And so he wrote his name on there, and then he writes a bunch of Bible verses. But it's just repulsive.
My eyes glazed over.
Yeah. It's
not Chris Watts thinking he's a religious artiste now. Like,
yeah.
And he's probably like copying and pasting out of the Bible all these things. Like,
and I feel like he thinks he's so intelligent and educated, and he's just a loser, essentially.
I hate him. And it's like, you think just because you're going to pretend you're religious or be religious now, that makes up for everything? No.
Yeah.
I just hate it. I hate him. He's stupid. That's that.
Wild that he's still in the news. But yeah, I also don't doubt that this was
he's another one that has supporters.
Would come out. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure the girlies will be like, oh my God, look at how intelligent and amazing he is.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
All right, so that's really it for updates. And just take note that this is being recorded probably 2 weeks kind of before it comes out. So, I mean, if anything else happens and we're not talking about it, that's why. If something big and crazy happens between right now and when this comes out.
So there are so many distractions in the world. I know we've all got 50 different things we need to do each day, 100 different places to be, work, families, doing all the things that we need to get done. And it can be so hard to focus on how to get there and what you can actually do to help yourself. I've really been enjoying having a Magic Mind mental performance shot every day. It can help you get focused, mentally clear, motivated, productive. It helps reduce your stress and it has mushroom nootropics and adaptogens, plus over 100% of your daily vitamin C and D per bottle. Magic Mind is 100% safe. All ingredients are third-party tested and sourced from the best suppliers.
Magic Mind set out to create a drink that consistently gets you to 100% mental performance without any of the down effects. No overcaffeination, jitters, anxiety. And 106 formulations later, they're very proud that they managed to do exactly that. It's not a quick fix and it's not a coffee replacement. They do not want to replace your coffee. Don't worry about that. They're an addition to your morning routine, like a daily essential vitamin, but for your mind. Magic Mind also donates 5 cents for each bottle sold to mental health charities that help the U.S. homeless communities, and they are 100% carbon neutral. Another great thing is that they're so confident in what they've built that they'll refund 100%, no questions asked, for 100 days after buying. Listeners of our show have a limited offer that you can now use to get up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off one-time purchase with the code True Crime Society at checkout. You can claim it at magicmind.com/truecrimesociety. So today we are going to be talking about some disgraced influencers, which is always, I mean, it sucks to say like a fun episode, but they're ones that people like a lot. They're interesting stories.
3 very different cases today too. One about trafficking, one about murder, and another one about kind of domestic violence and just being extra by a Mormon mummy blogger. But some very varied cases today.
Yeah, and just before anyone gets mad, I know like saying that they're fun episodes seems like a bad thing to say, kind of maybe the wrong word, but I think that a lot of people like seeing the downfall of people like this because usually they're online preaching about how amazing they are, scamming people, being influencers, but behind the scenes they're actual just trash. So people usually like seeing the downfall of people like the ones we're about to talk about.
It comes back to the word influencer. Like they're out there telling people how they should live their lives. Some people do
scumbags.
It by health and wellness. Other people do it kind of by inspirational influencing, those type of things. Yeah, and they are absolutely the people who should not be influencing others.
It's almost like a different form of a cult leader. Like some of the things we talk about remind me of the like Twin Flames guy and all the different cult leaders. It's almost just like a different form.
Coco Berthman as well, which we did an older episode on her. She was, a public speaker and basically is also trash. So
Brittany Dawn, the ultimate grifter, who is still being awful and annoying. First one we're going to start with is Kat Torres. I didn't really know who she was or anything, but I guess she was a pretty big influencer. She is a former model and social media influencer, like we said. Her content on Instagram focused on successful and healthy living, so that's probably why I don't know who she is. So in July 2024, Kat Torres was found guilty of human trafficking and slavery following an FBI investigation into the disappearances of 2 women. So it's actually really crazy. Like, it's not just the typical scammy social media influencer. This is like a crime.
Yeah.
A little bit about Kat. She was born on October 24th, 1992 in Belém, Brazil. She based her social media presence on her life story, which was growing up in poverty, surviving childhood abuse before managing to make it big. And she was regularly featured on Brazilian television, saying that she could predict the future with her spiritual powers. They always have spiritual powers.
Yeah.
Over the years, she was also linked to celebrities, and in 2016, she even was seen with Leonardo DiCaprio and claimed that she was dating him, but this was refuted by sources close to him, of course. She modeled, and she was on the front cover of many magazines because of that, and to capitalize on her fame, she then ended up moving to the United States. So it starts out with a woman who only known publicly as Anna, and she's come out and spoken about her relationship with Kat. So she first came across Kat via Instagram in 2017, and she said that, speaking about Kat, she's kind of resembled hope for me. She seemed like she'd overcome violence in her childhood, abuse, all these traumatic experiences. She was on the cover of magazines. She was seen with famous people like Leonardo DiCaprio. Everything I saw seemed credible. Anna believed that she came from a similar situation to Kat. She had also suffered abuse in her childhood, and she had also moved to the US from Brazil. So after Kat moved to the United States, Lezer Twerski said that Kat began doing ayahuasca monthly, and that changed her. Lezer said that's when she kind of started going off the deep end. Lezer said that Kat was also working as a sugar baby for multiple men, and those men funded the apartment that the two of them were living in New York. In terms of what Kat offered online and on social media, she offered on her wellness website like a subscription service that promised customers love, money, and self-esteem that you always dreamed of. Very vague. Her self-help videos offered advice on relationships, wellness, business success, and spirituality, including hypnosis, meditation, and exercise programs. Does it all. For an extra $150, clients could unlock exclusive one-on-one video consultations with Kat, during which she would solve any of their problems. At her peak, she had more than 1 million followers on Instagram. That's why I was like, that's crazy. She was actually like a big deal.
Yeah, I wonder if they were all organic followers or if she bought some of them. But yeah, it still is a lot of followers.
Yeah, and most of the followers were Brazilian women. So one of Kat's clients, Amanda, said that Kat always made her feel special and that she valued her opinion. A quote from Amanda, "All my doubts, my questions, my decisions, I always took them to her first so that we can make decisions together." In 2017, Kat also released a book called A Voice. She wrote that she had been called by a higher power to write the book. Then in 2019, Kat asked Anna to move to New York to work as her live-in assistant. Anna had been studying nutrition in Boston, and she decided to move her studies online and accepted Kat's offer. Anna was meant to look after Kat's pets and do her cooking, laundry, and cleaning for $2,000 a month. But when Anna arrived at Kat's apartment, she quickly realized that reality did not match what was being portrayed on Kat's social media. She said it was shocking because the house was really messy, really dirty, didn't smell good.
A lot of Kat's social media has been scrubbed by now, but I did find some photos and it did look like a nice kind of high-rise apartment. Like it looked glamorous, like it looked quite, like she was living an affluent lifestyle. So it's just interesting that, she obviously had these carefully portrayed areas that she could photograph and then the rest of the house was a bubble, essentially.
She pushed the mess to the side.
Yeah.
Anna said that Kat was barely able to function in normal life. She rarely showered as she couldn't bear to be alone. Anna said that she had to constantly be available to Kat. She was only allowed to sleep for a few hours at a time and had to sleep on a cat urine-soaked couch. Anna would actually hide in the apartment complex's gym, and she would get some sleep there. She also said that she was not paid once by Kat. She said, "I felt like I'm stuck here. I don't have a way out. I was probably one of her first victims of human trafficking." And just to point out, this does kind of turn into that, but human trafficking isn't always just sex related. It's also forced labor. Mm-hmm. People usually think sex is being prostituted with human trafficking.
It's essentially, I guess you could say it's almost a form of slavery where you're using someone for whatever purpose that they don't really want to be in.
Yeah, and trapping them essentially.
Yeah.
So Anna said, "Now I see that she was using me as a slave. She had satisfaction in it." Anna had given up her student housing in Boston, and she now had no money to pay for any alternative housing. Anna said that she tried to confront Kat about the situation, but Kat became aggressive, which triggered Anna due to her childhood abuse. Anna then managed to escape the situation after 3 months when she met a man that she moved in with. And I know, reading this, it's easy to be like, wow, how can you be so dumb to get stuck in this situation? Just leave. But in situations like this, people like Kat are very manipulative and they know the type of people to choose and how to exploit them and make them feel trapped, especially when you're taking their money and you just beat them down. It's the type of people that they find feel like they can't get out of these situations. Of course, you're like, this wouldn't happen to me. Yeah, you probably aren't someone that would have been manipulated by her. But there are people out there who are, because of either their childhood trauma, things that have happened to them. Just depends what people have gone through. So by September 2022, Kat's life had changed, and she married a man named Zach that she met in California. The two moved to Austin, Texas, and were renting a 5-bedroom house. And as a side note, there's really not any information around on Zach. He seems to have totally distanced himself from the situation.
So weird. Like, usually you can at least, like, I found it so hard to track down anything on him. Like, even his full
and
name.
You're a great sleuth.
Well, I like to think so, but yeah, just not much at all. Like, I don't blame him from distancing himself from the situation, but yeah, very, very strange that there's nothing on him.
Yeah. So Kat repeated the same pattern of behavior. She targeted her most dedicated followers and asked them to come and work for her. And in exchange, she would help them achieve their dreams. So 2 women named Desiree Freitas and Letitia Maia, both Brazilian, took Kat up on her offer and moved to Austin to live with her. Then another Brazilian woman, only known as Sol, was also recruited. Kat called these women her witch clan on social media, and further investigation uncovered that at least 4 more women were contemplating joining Kat in Austin, but pulled out. Desiree said that Kat bought her a plane ticket to travel to the United States from Germany. Kat told her that she was suicidal and needed Desiree's support. Letitia was 14 when she became involved with Kat and started life coaching sessions with her. Kat managed to persuade Letitia to move to the United States to take part in an au pair program. She then convinced her to drop out to live and work for her. Sol has said that she agreed to move in with Kat after she became homeless. Kat hired her to carry out tarot readings and lead yoga classes. The 3 women found out that their life was not turning into the promised fairy tale. Desiree said that Kat pressured her into working at a local strip club within weeks of moving to Texas. Kat told Desiree that if she didn't work at the club, she would have to repay all of the money that had been spent on her to date, which included flights, accommodation, furniture for her room. Kat also said that Desiree would need to compensate her for the witchcraft that had been performed on her. Desiree said that she didn't have any money to repay Kat, and that she also believed in the spiritual powers that Kat alleged to possess. Desiree has said that she was terrified that Kat would curse her for not doing what she was told. Desiree agreed to work as a stripper. The manager at the club, James, spoke to the media and said that Desiree would work long hours 7 days a week. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we have a quick word from our sponsor, Pros. Summer has really done a number on my hair. Either it's so humid here and my hair gets super, super frizzy, or I like to go out and be in the sun, which can make my hair pretty dry. So there's a lot going on. It's something that we don't always think about, how the environment can affect our hair, but it definitely does. And that's why I recommend Pros, because it's really catered to you personally. So it takes out all of the guessing on what products you should use. Since I've switched to Pros, I've noticed that my hair is a lot smoother. It gets tangled less often, actually, because my hair is very long and straight, and it's fine, but it's really thick. So I'd always have problems with it getting tangled super easily and just kind of looking messy, but Pros has made my hair look a lot sleeker, which I love because it just seems more manageable.
So Pros makes beauty personal with truly custom formulas that couldn't exist without you. Each and every bottle is made to order based on an in-depth consultation that covers everything from your beauty goals to the weather and water where you live. From millions of possible formulas, only one is uniquely yours. And Pros only uses naturally powerful and proven effective ingredients, selecting from over 185 clean ingredients to target your specific concerns and goals. Pros is so confident that you will love your results that they're offering our listeners an exclusive trial offer. 50% off your first hair care subscription order at pros.com/TCS. That's PROSE.com/TCS for your free consultation and 50% off your custom routine. Pros.com/TCS.
Desiree and Sol have said that the women who lived in the house in Austin were made to abide by very strict rules. They were not allowed to speak to each other. They had to obtain Kat's permission to leave their bedrooms, even just to use the bathroom. They were also made to hand over every dollar that they earned. So that's essentially how they get, trapped.
There's some photos out there of Kat with the women, and it's almost, well, it is creepy because she's clearly, they've all dyed their hair blonde. You can tell that they're probably naturally all brunette. They look like they could be twins or sisters. It's wild. Yeah, it's creepy that she was kind of making these women look like her, act how she wanted. Very, very.
Yeah, they're like a copy paste.
Yeah.
Sol told BBC it's very difficult to get out of the situation because she holds your money. It was terrifying. I thought something could happen to me because she had all of my information, my passport, my driver's license. Sol realized how dire the situation was when she overheard Kat telling another client that she must work as a prostitute in Brazil as punishment. Sol then enlisted the help of an ex-boyfriend to escape from Austin. Zach, who was Kat's boyfriend, had guns, and Kat began to post about the weapons on Instagram regularly, and this frightened the women who remained there. Desiree said that Kat tried to get her to work as a prostitute. She said that she refused, and the next day Kat took her to a gun range. Desiree ended up giving in to Kat, and she began sex work. Prostitution is illegal in Texas, and Kat repeatedly threatened to report Desiree to the police if she ever wanted to stop. So, just crazy. Desiree said, "Many questions haunted me. Could I stop whenever I wanted? And if the condom broke, would I get a disease? Could the client be an undercover cop and arrest me? What if he killed me?" Desiree has also said that Kat tried to get her to remove her IUD so that she could possibly get pregnant by a wealthy client. Kat also kept raising the amount of money that the women had to earn. It went from $1,000 to $3,000 per day, that's a lot of money.
Wild.
And if they didn't earn that much money to hand over to her, they weren't allowed to return to the house at night. So Desiree said, "I ended up sleeping on the streets several times because I couldn't reach that." It's so horrible and scary for these poor women.
I know, like being in a brand new country with no support, no money, and then having to endure this control and abuse. It's horrible.
There's some bank statements that have been made public. In the documents, it can be seen that Desiree transferred $21,000 into Kat's accounts in June and July 2022 alone. It's sad because they were making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, that could have benefited them in so many ways. Desiree said that she was forced to hand over a substantially higher figure in cash, too. So in September 2022, family and friends of Desiree and Letitia realized that something was wrong. They hadn't been able to get in touch with them for months. They started making social media posts trying to raise awareness about the two women being missing. Kat had then ordered Desiree and Letitia to dye their dark hair blonde, just like her. Like we were saying before, it was very like copy-paste looking. They look kind of just like her. And she said it's because she wanted to match with them. Desiree said that all of her phone contacts have been blocked at this point. Anna, the first girl that we talked about, she then came across these stories about the two women being missing, and she said alarm bells started to ring in her head. And she said she immediately guessed that Kat was keeping other girls. Anna contacted officials, including the FBI, and told them what she knew. She and Sol had actually previously reported Kat to the authorities, but they say they weren't taken seriously. So Anna recorded a video for evidence, and she can be heard saying, "This person is very dangerous, and she has already threatened to kill me." So it was then found out that Desiree and Letitia had profiles on escort and sex work websites. And at this point, Kat begins to panic. She took Desiree and Letitia from Texas to Maine, and she made them post Instagram videos in which they asked people to stop searching for them and denied that they were being held against their will. So that's crazy. But behind the scenes, the U.S. authorities were aware of what was going on. Homeland Security told local police, and a police officer managed to FaceTime Kat to check out the situation. And Kat didn't seem to realize that, for someone who spends so much time like on your phone and online, It's kind of crazy, didn't seem to realize that FaceTime had connected already when she was talking to the officer, and she could be heard saying, "He will start asking questions. Guys, they are full of tricks. He's a detective. Be very careful. For God's sake, I'll kick you out if you say anything. I'll scream." So in November 2022, a police officer finally convinced Kat, Letitia, and Desiree to attend a welfare check in person in Franklin County, Maine. So Detective David Davall told the BBC he and his colleagues had been immediately concerned, noticing a number of red flags, including a distrust of law enforcement, isolation, and their reluctance to speak without Kat's permission. A quote from him says, "Human traffickers aren't always like in the movies where you have a gang that kidnaps people. It's far more common that it's someone you trust." So this incident seemed to spook Kat, and by the next month, the two women had been safely returned to Brazil. But it was too late for Kat, as she was already being investigated, and according to Vice, she was arrested for visa irregularities in November 2022 while trying to enter Canada. She was deported back to Brazil, and she was charged with human trafficking and slavery of women. So after her arrest, more than 20 women came forward to speak about their experiences with Kat. The BBC spoke with Kat in April 2024 while she was waiting her fate in prison. And she told the outlet, when I was seeing the people testifying, they were saying so many lies that at one point I couldn't stop laughing. How unlikable can you be?
Oh, no.
She said, people are saying I'm a fake guru, but at the same time, they're also saying that she's a danger to society because she can change people's mind with her words. Like, that's not magic power. That's just you being a manipulative
bitch.
She said, you choose to believe whatever you choose to believe. I can tell you I'm Jesus, and you can see Jesus or you can see the devil. That's it. It's your choice. It's your mind. She got up to return to her cell, and she issued a threat to the BBC reporter. She pointed to the reporter and said, I didn't like her. She also claimed that the media team would soon find out if she had powers or not. It's like, imagine being that reporter. I'd be like, okay, bye. Cool, thanks. I'm not scared of you. Yeah, like I said, like just so totally unlikable, no remorse, still seems as smug and ego-driven as ever. So in July 2024, Kat was found guilty and was sentenced to 8 years in prison for subjecting Desiree to human trafficking and slavery. Kat's lawyer told the media that they will be appealing her conviction and stated that Kat is maintaining her innocence. Desiree has actually written a book, and she writes in it, I'm not fully recovered yet. I've had a challenging year. I was sexually exploited, enslaved, and imprisoned. I hope my story serves as a warning. So the detective said in his experience, human trafficking is on the rise. His observation is backed up by the UN, which says it is one of the fastest growing crimes, generating an estimated $150 billion in profits a year worldwide. And he believes that social media gives a platform on which he believes social media gives it a platform to thrive, making it much easier for traffickers to find and groom their victims. So, just like, I know we always, not to say joke about it, but definitely in our Facebook group, on Instagram.
As soon as anyone goes missing, a lot of the comments are like, wow, they must have been trafficked, when in reality, that's probably not what happened. Like, not saying it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen for a lot of the cases that people kind of think it does. Like, I feel like a lot of people just always assume it's always going to be for sex. It's always going to be for prostitution, but it's not always the case.
And it's usually not what people are saying in those situations. It's usually missing persons case or something, and they act like it's so common for women to be abducted out of the Target parking lot while they're packing their car. Which, sure, can that happen maybe occasionally? Yeah, but it's usually not like what human traffickers are doing. They're not looking for moms who have kids and families outside of Target or Walmart and stuffing them in their car and taking them away and selling them like in the movie Taken. A lot of times it's like what this detective is saying is where it's much more slower, takes more time,
process.
And again, it can also just be forced labor, like slavery in a sense, like you were saying, and yes, like sex and prostitution. But it's just, I think people saw the movie Taken, and that's what they think sex trafficking is, period. And you just see the crazy social media posts about getting snatched from the parking lot, which is not what happens.
And even in this case, like in terms of this case in particular, what he said about social media making it easier for this kind of behavior to happen. Like, you know, people had access to Kat. They could message her. They could DM her. And when someone who has 1.2 million followers messages you back or acknowledges your presence, you're like, wow, you know, it makes you feel special. So it's just another way to ensnare people by giving them easier access to these predators.
And to make them let their guard down, because you're like, wow, she has like over 1 million followers. Like, all these people like her, so she must be a likable, nice person.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like 8 years is a punishment. Is it enough? Especially considering that more than 20 women have come forward and said that basically
why is it only her?
Did similar things.
Like,
I don't know. Maybe they've only got proof of that. I don't know. Maybe more will come. But also you have to remember too that this is Brazil, where maybe things either don't happen as quickly or maybe aren't as thoroughly investigated. Plus, this all happening, a lot of it anyway, in America, like the kind of crossover between countries maybe makes it a little bit harder. But at least there is some type of punishment happening for Kat at the moment.
And also, her entire livelihood was social media, and so her name has essentially been ruined. I'm sure, just because I have no faith in the world anymore these days, that she will still get followers. Like, you know, we were just saying how Wade Wilson even has supporters. But still, I think most people will be like, she's done. So at least there's that too.
Okay, so the second case we are going to discuss today is a really sad one. It does involve child death, so just as a trigger warning. But it's about the case of Russian influencer Maxim Lyutyi, who was 44, and his partner Oksana Mironova, who was 34. So the couple had a baby together last year, and the baby starved to death after he was fed a sunlight diet. So Maxim was a lifestyle blogger, lifestyle influencer. At his peak, he had around 60,000 influencers, so kind of still small time, but he's like been on the cover of like there's a vegetarian magazine. He seems to have been relatively well known in that space.
A real punchable face.
Yeah, real smug. Yeah, I agree. So Maxim had been known to promote restrictive diets that consisted of mainly raw ingredients. He described himself as a master of working with the body and consciousness, and he told his clients that he could heal them. So the couple had a baby together around February 2023. It was a boy named Cosmos. The baby was born at the couple's home because Maxim refused to let Oksana give birth in a hospital. I believe the baby was quite premature as well. So like there's all these red flags that were happening at the start. Him controlling her by not letting her go to a hospital to give birth is insane. Plus the baby was early. Like it's amazing. Not amazing, but it's crazy how there was so much failure in this case.
Mm-hmm.
So after the baby was born, Maxim said that he wanted his son to be like Superman. He started the baby on a strictly vegan prana diet based on foods like berries. This is a 1-month-old, but
it's so insane.
A newborn. He said that the foods he chose to give the baby were meant to have a positive effect on the body's spiritual energy. He apparently did feed the baby the foods like berries, but there is a more extreme version of the diet where people believe it's possible to survive on sunlight alone. Oksana's cousin Alicia said he forced her to not feed the baby. Her boyfriend believed that the son was feeding the baby. She said Oksana was secretly trying to breastfeed the baby, but she was very afraid of Maxim. The cousin said, "How is it possible to feed the baby with sunlight? A baby needs his mother's milk." So media outlets have reported that Maxim wanted to experiment on the child, feed him purely with the sun, and then advertise it to others that this is how you can eat. Maxim was said to have refused any medicine for the child and also doused him in cold water to toughen him up. Oksana's mother, Galina, spoke to the media. She said, "I was against my daughter being in this sect. I felt everything and told her that Maxim was crazy, but she didn't listen to me." She said Oksana lived there like a guinea pig. Each time she became colder to me and she was his slave. She said Maxim forbade her to feed the child. Oksana told me that she secretly fed the baby, but she didn't have any money because he wouldn't give her any. The mother said, "I sent Oksana money for food from my pension and she secretly bought baby food." So in March 2023, when the baby was just a month old, his condition became so dire that Maxim finally agreed that he could go to a hospital. Cosmos was so malnourished that he died on the way to the hospital, and he was found to weigh only 3.5 pounds at the time of his death. His cause of death was found to be pneumonia and emaciation. So both Maxim and Oksana were arrested. Oksana was given a sentence of 2 years of correctional labor. In court, the prosecution claimed that Maxim would take the baby away from Oksana for a day at a time to harden him up. The prosecution said the little body could not withstand the abuse, exhaustion developed, and breathing problems that appeared, but even in his condition, the child was not shown to doctors. Maxim's lawyer tried to blame Oksana and said that she had an iron deficiency that caused the baby's illness. He said several years before meeting Maxim, Oksana opted for the vegan lifestyle. Premature babies, children of mothers suffering from iron deficiency anemia during pregnancy are at risk. So Maxim initially believed that he would be freed this year in 2024, but that didn't happen. He admitted guilt in the case and was sentenced to 8 years in prison. He said, "I fully admit my guilt, that through my inactions and frivolity I caused the death and negligence of my long-awaited beloved firstborn. I am also guilty that for the reasons stated above, precisely due to frivolity and carelessness, I improperly fulfilled my parental responsibilities. I repent of this." He said, "I admit my guilt. If I knew that my son was born prematurely, that his mother had contraindications for pregnancy, then at the first symptoms of the child's illness, I would immediately contact a hospital, regardless of the wishes and beliefs of the mother." So trying to blame Oksana. I'm not saying she didn't have a role in this, but he's basically putting all the blame on Oksana.
He's like, "I'm really sorry, but also it's not my fault."
Yeah. Then he goes on to say, "But I assure you that I never starved the child, did not forbid the mother to feed him, never hardened him, and never poured cold water on my child." So just as kind of a little post note to Maxim's case, since he's been in prison, he has started eating meat and pasta. So good for him. It's just horrible. I can't even imagine the suffering that poor child went through. 1 month alive and to not be fed. It's just horrible.
It's just like such an insane thing to believe. And also
Yeah.
just like separately, why would you ever think a baby needs a cold plunge? Like,
Yeah.
so weird. It's like he saw this as like a product essentially, or something to be like trained and grown into something instead of a human being.
Poor baby, just like it's just imagine taken away from the mother, not being fed, and if it was fed berries. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, and these people always think they're smarter than you.
Yeah. And like this guy thinks he's smarter than hundreds of years of human evolution, where we know that babies need milk. Like that's all they need. They don't need anything else before the age of, whenever you decide to feed your child solids. It's just wild that he thought he knew better than every other person in the world.
I couldn't imagine being that delusionally confident. It's crazy.
Before we get on with the episode, today's show is sponsored by IQBAR. Most coffees make me jittery. Sometimes I really need one to get me through the day, but I have to avoid them occasionally because I just feel too jittery, too anxious, too much caffeine. But I've been loving having IQJOE products because the magnesium in them smooths everything out for me. I get zero jitters. I can get through the day. I really, really enjoy having them.
Start each day right with IQBAR's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their ultimate sampler pack includes all three. Get 7 IQBAR flavors, 4 IQMIX flavors, and 4 IQJOE flavors. And today, our listeners get an exclusive 20% off plus free shipping. Just text CRIME to 64,000. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all the IQBAR products and flavors. IQJOE is a jitter-free instant coffee packed with 200 milligrams of natural caffeine, brain-boosting magnesium, and productivity-enhancing lion's mane. IQJOE comes in 4 delicious flavors: original black, vanilla spice, cafe mocha, and toasted hazelnut. IQBAR makes the #1 brain and body nutrition bar, hydration mix, and instant coffee in the US with over 10,000 5-star reviews and counting. So Refuel's smarter with IQBAR's Ultimate Sampler Pack. That's 7 IQBARs, 4 IQMIX sticks, and 4 IQJOE sticks. And now our special podcast listeners get 20% off all IQBAR products plus get free shipping. To get your 20% off, just text CRIME to 64,000. Get your discount, text CRIME to 64,000. That's CRIME to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Okay, so the last case we're going to discuss today is one that is a bit wilder. It's not maybe as serious. It could have been, but it didn't end up being as serious as the last 2 cases. But it is quite a well-known case. It's about Taylor Frankie Paul, who's basically a Utah Mormon influencer. She's still influencing. She has 4.5 million followers on TikTok and 360,000 on Instagram. So she's still out there. You'll still see her face. She pops up in my reels and stuff all the time. You might be familiar with her already. Taylor is grouped in with other Mormon mum talk influencers. She started posting videos in 2020, and she was married at that time to a man named Tate Paul. The couple had 2 children together, Indy and Ocean. So Taylor kind of became well known after she posted choreographed dance routines online, and she would refer to other Mormon influencers as sister wives. Things started going downhill for Taylor in 2022. She suddenly announced that she and Tate were getting divorced and that she'd left the home. She wrote in a video, "In my 20s, getting divorced, started therapy, living on my own for the first time, along with 2 little kids." So 2 days after she released that video, Taylor gave her followers more information, and she said that her marriage breakdown was due to, quote, soft swinging. She went live on TikTok and said that Tate had asked for a divorce because she had violated an agreed swinging arrangement made with other Mormon friends. She said that the couple had participated in soft swinging with their married friends, whereas she and the wives would get drunk before making out with each other and each other's husbands. And people were like shocked by this, I remember, because they were, during the pandemic, like a big kind of like niche interest of people being like, wow, like these Mormon mom bloggers, and everyone was kind of fascinated by it. And I don't think anyone would have thought that this was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The agreement, I already told you guys that the agreement was just like, as long as we were both there and we saw it and we knew it, it was okay. And the second it goes behind without each other, then that's, you stepped out of the agreement. And I did that. So, I guess this is just starting more questions. Soft swinging, again, is when you like just hook up but you don't go all the way. It is really unfortunate for the kids, and it's been really, really sad. We obviously weren't thinking clearly and thinking about other people, and to be honest, yes, I feel like that is selfish of me. and all of us really, to not think about that and our families and how this could affect them and their reputation now. None of us were really thinking that, and it's not fair to them. It's been a lot of mourning and grieving this week with them and apologizing. This is the first day I've been able to actually, like, really talk about it, I guess, and I really don't want to talk about it after this live. I just want to let it go. I've messed up. Other people have messed up, and that's that. I've already given the long story short. No, guys, not none. Some majority of mom talk is not involved, just to clear that up. Yeah, majority of them are not involved. And they've been really sweet to me and texting me, and they know that there's two sides to the story. So if they're on here, thank you for that. There's plenty more details that I'm not going to say online that also will never be told, which sucks. But yeah. I'm just going to keep a lot of it to myself, and if everyone wants to hate me, that's fine. I will take it. But yeah. I already told you that people are going to come out and deny it, and that's fine. No one's going to come and admit all of this. Like, I think I'm the only one that will probably stand here and admit it and say that I was involved. But obviously this was not a one-man job. This wasn't two-man. This was a group of people. The friend falling out was a group of people, and reasons why they're not going to come out and admit that, and that's okay. We're going to split the kids. I'll probably have him more just because my job's flexible and he works like a sales job, so I'll probably have him more often. This with our friends has been going on for about a year and a half. Yeah. And then as time went on, more people got involved. For Tate and I think it's best that we separate and divorce and kind of find ourselves and find what makes us happy. Start fresh. I think there's been a lot of evil around us, and we've participated in, obviously what I'm saying is like bad things, and I think we need a fresh start and to kind of wake up. This was a good wake-up call, I think, for us and our entire friend group to get our lives in check and to wake up. The separate bedroom wasn't like, that wasn't like a reason. We actually love separate bedrooms, and that wasn't an issue. That's not the issue. Yeah.
So Taylor admitted that she took things too far one night when she was belligerent drunk and messed around with one of her friend's husbands. She said, we all had an agreement, all of us, and I did step out on that agreement, and that's where I messed up, and obviously I am losing everything that I have. She went on to say, no one was innocent. Everyone is hooked up with everyone in this situation. So yes, I'm getting shunned for doing that, but it wasn't like I was going around hooking up with my friend's husband. She said, I was friends with these people and we spent a lot of time together. We were intimate on several occasions. Tate has made out with several girls and done other things, and I've made out with all the husbands and done other things. So she's basically airing all the dirty laundry, saying that she was the scapegoat. She was the only one getting kind of punished for doing this, but all of the group partook in it apparently.
Not to make light of it, but I would love to see like the group chat.
Yeah, I know.
Behind like her back of all of them being like, why is she doing this? Oh my God. Like just talking about, could you imagine just being outed like that? I'd be so annoyed.
Especially for these women who image is so important, and their kind of wholesome Mormon image is what they base their social media life on, and then for it to come out that all this was happening.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So after she outed everyone, a lot of the Mormon mums posted online to deny that they were ever involved in the soft swinging. And she kept throwing them under the bus. She said that there were 3 divorces in our friend group right now, although she clarified one was not really to do with this situation, but there are 2 of us who are getting divorced. So by June 2022, Taylor said she wasn't going to speak about the incident anymore. She said, after talking with my legal team, I have all the rights to share my story if I wanted. However, I feel that I shared a part and will not be sharing anything else from here on out. So many people have speculated that this whole kind of soft swinging incident was made public so that Taylor could get a role on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's always denied this, and I don't believe she ever got a role on there. So if that was her goal, it didn't quite work out. So late in 2022, it was revealed that Taylor had moved on and she was dating a man named Dakota Mortensen. She said that Dakota was the man she had, quote, cheated with during the swinging incident. So very quickly, the couple fell pregnant at one point early in their relationship, but Taylor suffered an ectopic pregnancy. In December 2022, she wrote to her followers and said that that year was the shittiest year of her entire life. From rough marriage to swinging to divorce to major loss of some of my family, best friends, my kids part-time, trying to be in another relationship but can't let myself be happy, to ectopic pregnancy to deep depression. She went on to say, meanwhile, millions of people watched it all and gave their lovely opinions. But she did say that she was hoping for a better new year. She said, 23 is my number, so I'm thinking next year is my year. However, on February 17th, 2023, so quite early in the year, police were called to her home in Herriman, Utah at around 11 p.m. According to a probable cause statement, a neighbor reported the incident, saying they could hear screaming and yelling from inside Taylor's home. When police got to the home, they found Taylor and Dakota in the doorway. Dakota began to explain to police what had happened. Taylor then lunged at him and she pushed and hit him, so police separated them. Taylor allegedly hit Dakota multiple times during an argument. She also threw objects such as metal chairs and a wooden playset at him, and she was said to be intoxicated. Video also showed that Taylor kicked Dakota, she put him in a chokehold, she struck him multiple times and hit him with a metal bar stool 3 times. When Taylor threw the stool for the second time, she caused a hole in the wall and knocked down some home decor. Taylor's 5-year-old daughter was in the same room as the adults at the time that this was all happening. Video evidence showed that the child may have been injured by Taylor during the altercation after one of the chairs struck her. The child sustained a goose egg injury on her head. So this is a metal bar stool. Obviously things turned out all right in the end, but it could have been much, much worse for Taylor. Throwing a bar stool at her child's head is wild.
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor was arrested on charges of assault, criminal mischief, and domestic violence in the presence of a child. The Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office said they were screening the case for felony assault charges and a misdemeanor charge of reckless child abuse. So Dakota would later post about the incident. He said that Taylor had been at a Galentine's party that he picked her up from, which is why she was kind of drunk. He said, I'm not even allowed to speak with her. I really don't want to talk about it, but I wanted to clarify a few things. He said, I didn't call 911, but he thinks that a neighbor may have. He said, I'm going to wait for everything to come out before I speak on it. He went on to say she never hurt anyone intentionally. And when asked for more specific details, he said he didn't want to elaborate, but we didn't argue. He said, I don't even want the truth to come out. She's so broken right now. I tried to help her. She's a good mum. She's been through a lot in her life and she's been struggling. It's been a hard year for her. She's racked with guilt on her cheating scandal that cost her her marriage. So even though he was the one who was apparently involved, it's her scandal. He also apparently got divorced. In August 2023, Taylor took a deal and she pled guilty to aggravated assault. The other charges were dismissed, and the plea, which will be held in abeyance for 3 years, at which time the charge will be entered as a Class A misdemeanor if Taylor abides to all the terms of the deal. The terms are that she must obtain both a substance abuse evaluation and a domestic violence evaluation, and she must complete all recommended treatment, and she must not violate any laws above a minor traffic violation. She will also be supervised by adult probation and a parole officer and will be required to submit to drug testing, and she will be prohibited from frequenting places where alcohol is the chief item of sale. She was sentenced to serve 1 day in jail with credit for 1 day previously served. So she made a TikTok regarding her plea deal. She said, I don't owe anyone an explanation besides the people involved. Court is officially over till next year. They'll just check in and see how I'm doing, if I'm still doing better. As much as I wish that night had went differently, I felt like hitting rock bottom actually helped me in some ways, made me seek the help that I wasn't getting. So she was very lucky in this case that it worked out essentially in her favor. She was able to kind of put it behind her, almost sweep it under the rug, and still is out there influencing, living her best life online. There isn't anything new in terms of media articles regarding this. The last things were kind of the August last year. So she has been quite successful in putting this behind her publicly anyway.
Yeah, and like we said at the start, hers, I know it's domestic violence, but hers aren't as serious as the other two we talked about. But I was just looking at her TikTok and Instagram and just scrolling through. It's kind of funny, I guess, is a bad word to use, as I always say, but like if you go all the way back to her Instagram 2018, you see pictures and posts with the one husband, but then like modern day, it's literally like the same type of pictures with just a different guy slotted in basically. But she's just kind of like a typical influencer. Like, if you just found her account now, you'd probably have no idea about any of it. She's very pretty, posts a lot about her family life, has cute style, so I'm sure she'll be just fine.
She is still with Dakota, and they have had a baby this year, a baby called Eva. It's like April-ish she had a baby, so she's still going strong, I guess.
So good for her, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, like and it's, you don't want to make light of domestic violence, and that's not what we're doing here. But I feel like if a man attacked a woman in this way, it would be much less likely to be able to be lenient and get off, like, because she's seen as this kind of petite, small woman who was just drunk and out of control. Did she get that sentence because of that? I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, it's like, I wonder, his statement is what makes me wonder what happened, where it almost makes you think, did she just have like a complete mental breakdown? Was just like throwing shit and wasn't necessarily trying, not this excuse, but wasn't necessarily trying to attack anyone. Just like his statement, I thought was interesting, and I'd be very curious to know what really happened, because he was kind of also making excuses for it. But I don't think we will ever know if we don't know at this point.
No, I agree.
Especially since her kid was there. There's like no excuse for that.
No. So, as we mentioned, these are all three very different cases. I guess the level of criminality varies. Obviously, one was murder, basically. The other two are very different. But it's just, I guess, serves as a good reminder that what you see online is very, very rarely what is actually real life, what is being portrayed. People only show their best sides online. They only show generally the happy stuff, the positive things. So just be very, very wary if you are being influenced by someone like the people we've discussed today, someone who proclaims to have more knowledge or more, wisdom about different things. Even don't, someone's portraying their life kind of like Taylor Frankie Paul, for example, this beautiful, glamorous life. This is what goes on behind the scenes in many, many cases. So just be wary and keep that in mind when you are online in all situations.
Yeah, like everything influencers or people who have big followings put out on Instagram is very curated. And for them, even just with us, not that we're influencers, but our True Crime Society account does have a pretty big following. So you kind of start to think more about what you post and kind of the engagement and interaction. With us, I don't think it's as bad because we're not influencing anything. We're really just posting news. But once you kind of learn more about that, you see influencers differently in a way, because they use tactics to try to get themselves more in the algorithm, to try to get more engagement purposefully, to push their things more online. So everything's very calculated. Like when they post polls, like, what do you guys think of this? So they just want you to hit the buttons because that will boost their posts more. And
engagement,
if they post things of like, tell me your craziest Sunday or something stupid that like influencers post, they just want you to comment. They don't really care. They don't care about you. Sure, there's some nice ones, but there's a lot of scammy people in the world.
Yeah. And people only out for themselves, which I feel like, and I obviously don't want to put all influencers in the same boat because it's not everyone, but there are a lot out there.
Yeah. And no, I say this as I follow tons of people on Instagram, and there's influencers that I like, but you just always have to know, even if they seem like nice people, and they probably are nice people, a lot of them, like, it's still their job. This is their job.
And I feel like too, people forget that, because a lot of time influencers, like even in terms of Kat, prey on the vulnerable people. Like they're the people who are lonely or looking for connection or looking for, whatever, leadership, for example. So that's what they're out to do, and they specifically seek out these people, the ones who message them 20 times a day and the ones who they know will respond to them. So it's can be a very, very calculated way to live.
Yeah. So just saying, good to be aware of, because not everyone always thinks about that. But that's really it for this episode. Let us know what you guys think, or if you have any other influencers you'd like to see us do an episode on. We do these every so often once we get a few stories that build up to the amount of an episode, so send them our way. But everything will be on the blog for this episode, truecrimesocietyblog.com, if you want to see any of the accounts and all that and forgot their names. You could check it out there. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, because we're always posting updates and everything there as well at True Crime Society. And if you want to follow our personal accounts, mine is StephSum_. Olivia's TCS Olivia. And we're definitely not influencers. So
mine is basically food. So if that influences you to eat, that's fine.
Yeah. And I mostly just like reshare quotes and memes. So you can check us out there. Did I say our handles?
I think
Mine's
you did.
StephSum_. Olivia's TCS Olivia. Check us out on Patreon. We do all the episodes ad-free. We do weekly extra bonus episodes every week. And we do earlier release on the regular episodes too. So they come out like a whole day earlier. And if you join now, you get all of the back catalog of all the bonus episodes and everything. So there's lots on there now. We've been doing it for over a year. So check us out there. And like we said at the start, if you could rate us on Spotify, if you listen on Spotify, make sure you give us 5 stars. Just make sure 5 stars are filled in because it can be a little confusing for some reason.
Yeah.
And that's it. Share your Instagram stories, all the usual stuff. And we appreciate that so much. That's it. Stay safe out there, everyone. Peace out.
So that's all we've got for this week. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, including Magic Mind. You can find all of the sponsor details in our show notes.
And thanks for listening.